So I'm optimistic about the future of the internet. It is earlier in the morning, and I've been awake for the entire night working on the cover for my book, and I've got it. We're here. I know what I'm doing. It only took me 8 hours straight of sitting at this desk to figure it out. I'm sorry I look so disheveled. But as I was sitting here, I just got to thinking, and I am optimistic about the future of the internet, which is, I think it's a little bit odd for me, at least in this current state, and it's probably a feeling that I won't have even in a couple hours. But, given the kind of passive pessimism that I've had over, generative tools in the recent years, it's fun. I've just been sitting here and thinking about, all of the good that will come from these generative tools. And I don't think the tools themselves are going to provide any good. Don't get me wrong. I think that they're, for the most part, bad. But I think that creative spaces are kind of in a downward spiral right now. And I'm a little bit excited for it because I think that on the consumer end, there's a lot of room for opportunity. And I think that ultimately the consumers are going to start to respect art a lot more, and it's going to shake us out of our apathy a little bit. Again, I have no data for this. I have not done any research into this. I've been drawing all night, and I turned my camera on. But I think that, we're starting to see some things that are really, really cool from different industries that I'm really excited about. Everybody's done with the video game industry. Anyone who plays video games is done with AAA studios. They're furious. Price hikes are going up. What they are given is usually just kind of live service games that just scrape by, maybe a couple months after they launch. They're certainly not ready on launch. The video game industry has been in free fall for years. And I think that we're seeing a pretty significant uptick both on the legislative level and the development level. Expedition 33 came out a month ago, and it is shattered expectations, and there's a bunch of indie devs, I feel like, in recent years that are just putting AAA services to shame, and I'm really, really excited for it as a creative space and a creative medium. I don't really play video games all that much anymore. I wish I could. I'm working on all this stuff. Maybe I'm going to take a break when this book is published and just kind of turn my mind off for a little bit. I would honestly love nothing more. But I think that it's really, really cool that a development company of 33 developers can come out with something like Expedition 33, release it for less than what industry standard says they should, and just have it blow up. It sets such cool precedents for people who enjoy experiencing art through that medium. And then, with the publishing industry, the democratization of publishing a book is crazy in 2025. I'm self-publishing a book just because I realized that it's been a lot of work. I'm doing it all on my own, but I can do it. I think that's the big difference between 2025 and a couple decades ago, is that you couldn't do it. There was no way to self-publish a book on the scale that I'm attempting to do so right now. I have to do all of the work myself, but it's feasible. It's something that I can do, and there's plenty of roadmaps out there, and a lot of the process, distribution and sale, creating a website, all of this stuff is stuff, that I have no experience in, that I can do given the amount of time and research. I think that that's really cool. I've been awestruck by how feasible it is for me to do this process after looking under the hood. And I think that consumers are going to kind of start to respect that level of authenticity more as they are fed just a completely consequential amount of media from larger corporations. I have a lot of faith in humanity. I have a lot of optimism for humanity, and I think that it's might border on naivety. I understand that. But I think that just at the end of the day, people are kind of fed up with the low effort media that they're receiving. At least, again, that might be projecting anecdotal evidence onto, this situation. But I think that we as people have a tendency to discard our own experiences a little too quickly in favor of things that we see on the internet. From what I've seen, you know, like going back to just, let's say, the video game industry, what I've seen is people are fed up. All of my buddies are fed up, and I mean, they all have the same gripes and complaints that I do. It's that A, video games are too expensive. B, there's way too much of an emphasis on like the live service aspect of it. And B, there's not enough narrative. Everything's about like player versus player, about competition. There's not enough really, really solid narration-driven video games anymore. And again, I've seen that kind of take a shift in the past couple years, which I think it's cool. You know, I think that it's cool. And specifically within publishing, within the traditional publishing industry, we have seen kind of a funnel, kind of a choke of what's really been getting published by bigger publishers like Simon & Schuster and you know, HarperCollins and stuff like that. They're all chasing trends for the most part. And a lot of these like larger publishing firms have kind of abandoned taking on manuscripts and more so just taking on ideas and paying in-house writers to write those ideas because they know that it caters towards a trend and that it will sell. Again, I understand. Corporation's job is to make money, especially if it's a publicly traded company. Like you have shareholders and your job is to make money. But we as artists, our job is to create. And I think at some point that used to work kind of harmoniously, but as corporations have gotten larger and more towards the bottom line, we've kind of been left by the wayside. So most artists are just opting not to deal with it, to just do their own thing. And I think that that's really, really cool. It's hard. It's significantly harder to do. We all have to live life and keep the lights on. But I think that it's really, it's I don't know, it's encouraging. It's encouraging that I'm doing this and that I'm chasing this. And I see so many other people doing the exact same thing. People that are just as talented, if not significantly more talented than me, that I just get excited about, you know. Some of them are just like my friends. My friends that like are in creative spaces that I've gotten to know over the years, and they're just pursuing their own mediums that maybe none of you guys are ever going to see, but it's cool to see the breadth and the life that it gives them. I don't know, maybe it's just because I haven't slept in 36 hours, but I'm really optimistic about the future of art. And again, I don't mean to downplay some of the more sinister things that are happening within the art community that professional artists are fighting, especially like in the scope of the digital sphere. Again, that's not the point of this. I know that they are fighting pretty stringently, but I don't think that they have to change. If you're a digital artist, I don't think you have to change your process at all to keep up with AI. And that might be a super naive take, but I think that we, the consumer, this might be projecting my own habits onto a problem, but like we are going to self-correct this. At least I hope so. I think that we are going to start to prioritize process and form. And this is something that I might make an entire video about this, but I was really angry when I started publishing my books because I didn't understand why I needed to do stuff like this, make YouTube videos, like videos of me drawing, videos about my world, about the process, like why it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter for me as the artist or me as the author. It shouldn't matter, like what should matter is the work, the piece itself, the book. And I'm starting to understand why maybe people want to get to know the artist or the author. You know, I never really wanted to like be on YouTube. I never wanted to have an Instagram or anything like that. And I spent the majority of my teens and 20s without one up until last year because I know that in order to self-publish a book, I have to get out there and be on the internet. And it's fine. Like, I'm happy doing this stuff, but I'm more happy now because I understand that people want to see your process from a very earnest place. I think that, you know, it's not, for a lot of people, it doesn't come from like people want to see your process because it shows authenticity. It shows that you're passionate about what you're creating, and I'm very passionate about what I'm creating. This novel series is something that I've been working on for years and years, and I'm finally getting to publish it. And doing all of the art for it has been so much fun. Less fun lately. I'm working on my cover design, and I restarted it a couple hours ago. So, for those of you guys who have been around the channel, this is what we started with for my cover design. I'm really excited for the direction that we were going. Like, I did a brief outline of Thenrik and Ekon right here. It makes a lot of sense when you've read my novel, which none of you have yet. But Ekon's posture was really bothering me, so I scrapped it. And now I'm redrawing him with a slightly more hopeful gaze. Yes, this is going to take me a while, but I finally have some direction on it. Once I'm done with this cover, that's it. That's it. We're done. I find like the formatting's done. I just need to format the cover, and the book is coming out. It's done. So then I don't know. Then maybe I'll play Expedition 33 because I'll have a little bit more time on my hands. I'm so done. I love this process. I've loved publishing this book. I everything about it. But let me tell you, I just want to draw for the sake of drawing, not for my book. I just want to draw some weird, like, do some studies, just work on my proficiency again, and just let my mind go for a little bit. That's probably what I'll do with my art once this book is out and done. And then I'll go back into the trenches of, like, illustrating for my second book once I'm done with that. But I'm really excited for, like, when this comes out, because there's so many things that I've wanted to draw that I just haven't had the time to recently. That got a little ranty at the end, but I guess that's an update on what's going on with me and my process for publishing my book. I'm sorry how disheveled I look this morning. Maybe I'll sleep after this. I probably won't. Yeah, I probably won't. But thanks for tuning in. Thank you for the gift of your time.